So today we're going to talk about country music. And no, I'm not going to be talking about controversial songs people are writing or videos they're making. Not going to be talking about which country artist is feuding with who. I'm just going to talk a little bit about my life as a country musician and as a singer-songwriter. Because I started this page back in 2010. And back then all I did was post songs on here that I wrote and videos of me and my band playing. And then recently I started doing political and social commentary. And around July, my YouTube channel really started picking up steam, and now we're sitting at over 30,000 followers. So there's a whole lot of people new here that will see me bust out a guitar from time to time and go, dang, I didn't know you did that too. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing that for 25 years, and I've had a whole lot of people message me and ask me questions about that. So I just wanted to, for those of you that care, I wanted to tell you a little bit about how I got started and how I ended up sitting in this chair doing what I'm doing now. I actually started off writing songs before I ever even knew how to play an instrument. I was writing poems in a notebook, and I was kind of shy about showing them to people because I didn't know how my friends and my family would take to me writing poetry, so I just kind of kept them a secret. And then one day, my dad traded me an acoustic guitar for a Walker Coonhound dog that I had. We swapped, and Dad said to me, he said, you know, at first I said, I don't really know what I need with an acoustic guitar. I don't know if I ever want to learn how to play one of those. And Dad said, well, you know, it'll be fun. You can learn how to play some songs, and hell, you might even write some of your own songs one day. And when he said that, I thought to myself, well, wait a minute, that book of poetry that I've got, if I set it to music, I'd be a songwriter, and that sounds cooler to me. So I traded the dog for the guitar, and I started learning every three-chord country song that I could figure out. The first two songs I ever learned to play on an acoustic guitar, and I don't remember which one came first, but I just worked on both of them kind of at the same time, was Is Anybody Going to San Antonio by Charlie Pride and Tiger by the Tail by Buck Owens. And I just sat and strummed those over and over, and then I dove in and started strumming every Hank Williams Sr. and Jr. and Waylon and Johnny Cash song that I could find. If it had three chords, I tried to play it. And I did that for a couple of years until my mom took me to the World's Fair Park in Knoxville, Tennessee in 1997 to see the Leonard Skinner Band. They were on the 20 tour. They were commemorating the 20-year anniversary of the Leonard Skinner plane crash. And they had a big screen where Ronnie Van Zant came down and sang the song Traveling Man with Johnny. And it was at that moment that I wanted to be a musician, and I never looked back. And so I just went out there and started playing in every dive bar that I could find. I went from being in garage bands to bar bands and spent most of my life out there doing that. I never wanted to go to Nashville and chase the dream. I never had no desire to do that. I never wanted to write songs the way that they write songs in Nashville. You know, a lot of times you'll see a pop country song or a bro country song. It'll have like 6 or 7 songwriters on it. And you're going, that song ain't that deep. Who wrote what part? You find out later that one guy probably got a writing credit just because he brought pizza and beer to the session, you know. And I never wanted to do it that way. I wanted to get out there and live it. And I wanted to get in the trenches. And I wanted to pay my dues. I never wanted something handed to me, and I never wanted the musicians that came before me to say that I didn't earn my spot. And so for a long time, I really went about it the hard way. I refused to do it the easy way or take easy ways around things. I wanted to go out there and get in the mud. And I went into places that it was like right at the last gasp for these places. It was the backwoods dive bars in Southeast Kentucky and East Tennessee that they're all run down or gone, or they're a Mexican restaurant or a pawn shop now, you know. They're like a thrift store now or whatever. But those are the places I wanted to go into because I felt like that's where the real people were. And I wanted to play to those crowds, and I wanted to live the songs as I wrote them. So during that time, you know, I was almost shot once, stabbed, ran over. And there's a song by Patterson Hood from the Drive-By Truckers where he says, sometimes I'm so high I'm scared to go to sleep. I started covering that song, and people thought that I wrote it because it sounded so much like me in the life that I lived. But I wanted to be like Hunter S. Thompson. I wanted to buy the ticket and take the ride, and I wanted to live the songs the way as I wrote them. So that if I said something in a song, it wasn't something me and 5 other guys came up with in an office somewhere. It was something that I lived through. So a lot of my songs was written the following morning after a gig. I'd be laying there in the bed all hung over, thankful to still be alive, and I would be writing my songs. And along the way, I did get to do a whole lot of cool things. I got to open up for a lot of my heroes. I got to open up for Ray Wiley Hubbard on his birthday. That's still one of my favorite shows because I actually got to meet him and talk with him, and he was super nice and supportive. And complimentary, and that meant a lot to me. I got to open up for the great Scott Miller, the late, great Charlie Robison, Roger Allen Wade, Jonathan Tyler and the Northern Lights, Jimmy Van Zant, who's no longer with us, Blackfoot, Molly Hatchet. I did some shows with Jesco White. I got to record in Nashville with Robbie Turner, who played steel guitar on 9 Waylon Jennings albums, played with the Highwaymen, produced the last album Waylon did called Going Down Rockin'. And I got nominated for a few awards along the way, Best Songwriter twice and Best Singer, which I never wanted that one. I was so relieved when they didn't call my name because I've never liked my voice or thought I could sing worth a shit. None of those bowling trophies, by the way, never meant nothing to me, and neither did none of those accolades, really. I just wanted to buy that ticket and take that ride. But I have always talked politics my entire life. I remember being 8 years old talking with my grandfathers about Bush and Dukakis. I can remember it that early. Politics has always been talked around my house. Religion has always been talked around my house. It's a conversation that has came up every day. And so I always talked about it. And then the pandemic hit, and all the gigs got canceled. Everything dried up. And when that happened, it was like, now what are we going to do, you know? So you had to find other ways to get creative. And I know 2020 was really rough on a lot of folks, but 2021 was the one that really hit my family. It seemed like that anyone in my family that had the slightest health problem or anything like that, it was just like they all just got up and walked out single file at one time. It was coming down near the end of 2021, and I think I'd been to like 8 or 9 funerals in just a few months. And I'm sitting there watching a Hunter S. Thompson documentary, and I've got this tattoo on my arm, Gonzo, buy the ticket, take the ride, and I'm sitting there watching that, and he's just giving hell to Richard Nixon. I'm like, damn it. Instead of ranting in the kitchen with my mom and my family, I should really be giving hell to that motherfucker. And I had just attended my great uncle's funeral. He was a Korean War veteran, and they had the flag draped over his casket. I wasn't close to him. I never really got to carry on a conversation with him. And I'm pretty sure that we wouldn't agree on politics if he was still with us. But I just got thinking about, hey, you know what? We may not agree with each other, but he fought for my right to disagree. So I'm going to start talking. And I started talking first on the TikTok app. And then the Midas Touch Network picked me up as a contributor. And then everything else just blew through the roof. And the next thing you know, people was going, I love your political and social commentary. And then when I busted out a guitar, they were saying, I didn't know you did that too. And that's okay. I wouldn't have it any other way, and I'm really glad it worked out this way. I'm not complaining at all, and I'm thankful that everyone's here. I'm thankful to all the people who stood by me back in those years when the only person with me was my shadow on the floor. I really appreciate all the people that came out and sat up front. I tuned out the audience years ago. I really wasn't the best like bar band or bar musician in the world because I didn't play the jukebox. I didn't play the hits of the day. I would not play a Jason Aldean song or a Luke Bryan tune if you beat me over the head. I'd tell you to play it on the jukebox or ask the DJ to play it, buddy. I can't help you. So I played songs I liked, and I played songs I wrote, and I had a devout little following up front that would sit there and watch me and appreciate what I do. And I wrote songs about them, and I played songs to them, and I tuned everybody else out. But there just came a point where the issues at hand and everything going on in the world today was way too important to me, and I felt like needed to be talked about. And eventually I found a way to write political and satirical tunes and have a good laugh at people like Lauren Boebert's expense. But I've had people say to me, because used to I played every single weekend, did that all my life for Salone. This year, I've played 3 gigs all year. And I've had people say to me, do you miss it? Do you wish you're still doing it? And I'm like, no. No, I don't. I don't miss sitting on a bar stool singing Wagon Wheel or Take It Easy for the 1,000th time. The world doesn't need to hear me do that ever again, you know. And half the time, the people was talking so loud they wasn't paying attention to me anyway. They were sitting there looking at their phones. Well, now when they sit there and look at their phones, they scroll across my videos. And I may have pissed a whole bunch of them off, and I may never get booked on a show in this part of the world again. And I'm perfectly at peace and okay with it. Because I said in the beginning, I said, is this a hill I'm willing to die on? And the answer is, yes, it is. So I want to thank everybody that's new here. Thank everybody that's tuned in. Thank y'all for sharing my videos. Thank y'all that were sitting here long before any of this came along. I appreciate all of you. If any of you got up and walked off, that's on you. That's you're perfectly, if you can't take it and you just really wished I'd get back to just singing some Waylon for you to make your life easier, go listen to Waylon. He did it way better than I ever did. Go check him out. I don't have to sing Lonesome, Ornery, and Mean anymore. Every now and then I'll just sit down on my couch and play it to the walls. And I'm okay with that, because what we're dealing with now in this country, you know, rather than sitting and ranting at my family, I just turned it into content, and here we are. So we're going to keep on doing it, and I want to thank you guys for standing with me. And for those of you that weren't able to stand here any longer and the hate mail, that's fine too. I don't care either way. If I never play in another bar room again, this is the hill I was willing to die on. And don't ever forget that. And don't ever let anybody say, poor Brandon. No, this is exactly how I wanted to be remembered. It's one of those things like, you know, how do you want to be remembered once you're gone? Well, I was on the side of truth and democracy, and I was on the side of fucking sanity. And, yeah, that's a hill I'm willing to die on.